Now we turn to other disturbing news surrounding Joe Biden. He hasn't held a single press conference. He has no plans to give a State of the Union address. His vice president has apparently taken over the duties of talking one-on-one and having these meetings with world leaders. And last week, during rare public appearance, Biden struggled, and I mean struggled mightily. Take a look.
I promise you, we are going to together beat this, and I think that. But the idea that over 500, I have a card, I carry a card with me every day with the total number of folks who have been affected by the, as of yesterday, there were 500,071 people who have died from this.
What else is on the card? That was not a hard number to remember because they had a vigil the day before. My name is Joe. My wife's name is Jill. I live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This is getting scary. Over the weekend, it got worse. During some rambling remarks, he completely forgot what he was talking about. And, well, I think Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is pretty well known, and her name's not Shirley. Take a look.
I want to thank you, Governor, Ms. Abbott, for your hospitality and your friendship. And Representative Senator Cornyn, I think he had to go back. I think he was getting on a plane. He told me he came in to see me last event. And Representatives Shirley Jackson Lee, Al Green, Sylvia Garcia, Lizzie Pinelli, Pinell, and what am I doing here? I'm going to lose track here. And
what am I doing here? Her name is Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. According to the report in The Hill, there are now whispers that Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, is actually running the show. And while Joe naps, remember he's talking, he looks so exhausted. Oh, I carry a paper with me to remind me every day. Just go back 4 years ago and look at tapes of Joe. Go back 10 years ago. Which brings us to a very serious but real necessary question. Is Joe Biden, is this far worse than we were ever told? Is he fit to serve? Because these are the same questions the Democrats, the media, they had no problem asking about Ronald Reagan, the age question they called it, in the late 80s, or about John McCain during his presidential campaign. The media, the Democrats, they all talked about it openly. Given what we now see from Joe Biden day after day after day, this is now a fair question that needs to be asked. Joining us now with more, former White House aide to the Trump administration, also President Trump's leading speechwriter, Steve Miller is with us. All right, let's talk about the Joe question, then we'll quickly go to the transition to the speech. Look, we used to get criticized when I said weak, frail, and struggling cognitively. I'm not getting criticized any longer. And you know why I think that is, Stephen? Because everybody sees it.
This would be comical, Sean, if it weren't so truly terrifying. The question is, who is actually making the decisions running this country right now? I mean, who made the decision to start a border crisis in the first month of this presidency? Who made the decision to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord, stop the Keystone Pipeline, shut down energy production nationwide? Who made the decision to start funding abortion overseas with your taxpayer dollars? Clearly, somebody's making all these decisions, and it's not Joe Biden. And it's affecting real lives and real people, and we're entitled to answers.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, let me move on. So what I liked a lot, now, at CPAC, 97% support for the president's policies. That kind of tells you the direction of the party. All right, I think those in the establishment wing that think that the party is going to go backwards away from the Trump America first, make America great again agenda are wrong. The agenda is what it is, and it's fairly simple. Now, the president spelled all of that out, and he also added to it the things that we have to fix with elections so people have confidence and integrity in our election process, and he was very clear on that as well.
He gave a powerhouse speech, Sean, that rallied Republicans and rallied conservatives around the values that are going to win the midterms and win the White House in 4 years. And he was especially effective and lacerating in condemning Joe Biden's cowardice on school reopenings. Children are hurting across this country. And I applaud President Trump just as a citizen for saying what needed to be said. Get the schools open. Get our kids back in school. Is Joe Biden so terrified of the teachers' unions that he's going to sacrifice, literally, the futures of millions of young kids all across this country? It needed to be said, and Donald Trump said it. And he said a lot more about our economy, about energy, about recovery, about COVID. And he was especially effective, in my view, in his detailed takedown of Joe Biden's border policies and what he's done along the southwest border, where we had a secure border and now we have an unprecedented crisis. What you saw with that speech was what every Republican needs to be doing nationwide in a factual, detailed, issue-by-issue rebuttal of the first month of the most far-left administration we've ever seen.
Well said. All right, Steve Miller, thank you. Appreciate you being with us.